So without further ado, let me hand you over to Penny Mallory.
I'm really pleased you've all been able to join me. Thank you so much. This is, as JJ just said, a deep dive into mental toughness, what it is, how you can develop it. And I think everybody right now could do with a bit of resilience and confidence, courage and commitment, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to share with you some ideas that I hope will help you to face the inevitable changes, whatever sector you're in. Applies to everybody. This picture here was my dream come true, and it happened against all the odds. But this is a picture of me becoming the first woman in the world to compete in a world rally car of this specification. I'm guessing you might not know too much about rallying, but if it was racing, this would be the equivalent of Formula One. And I became the first, and as far as I know, the only woman to drive for Ford in the World Championship. So I'd had a dream since I was about 6 years old that I wanted to drive rally cars. I think I must have seen Grandstand. Do you remember? I think it was on Sunday nights or something. And I must have seen the RAC rally, and I saw cars throwing up mud and gravel and sliding sideways through a forest. I thought it was the most exciting thing I'd ever seen in my life. And I remember saying to myself, when I grow up, I want to be a champion rally driver, which I'm not sure is every young girl's dream, but it was definitely mine. And I was lucky enough to spend 12 years of my life competing in rally cars and ultimately the World Championship. That was way, way more than I'd ever hoped or dreamed for. And I was lucky enough in those 12 years to be surrounded by world-class performers, world-class teams, incredible drivers. And I became quite obsessed with how high-performing teams and individuals worked. I was probably more obsessed with that than I was with cars, to be honest. I wanted to get under the skin of human performance and the psychology of success. And absolutely that obsession has never left me. But when I was driving, I remember thinking really clearly, what is that person doing? Why can't I do that? What have they got that I haven't got? What's so special? I want some of it. So let me just explain quickly. I say this happened against the odds. This is a picture of me and my mum and a weird looking doll. I didn't think I ever had dolls, but my mum looks like a fairly normal person in this picture. But in fact, I grew up in a really badly dysfunctional home. She was a severe manic depressive. She was also an alcoholic, and that's not a great mix. And I started effectively to disconnect from the world. I hated my life. I was angry. I was resentful. I just wanted a family like everyone else's. But by the time I was 14, I was so fed up with my environment that I decided to leave. And it was a sort of a runaway. I never went back after 14. I lost touch with my father for nearly 20 years. And unfortunately, things went slightly pear-shaped for me. This was not on the cards, but I ended up living in homeless hostels for a couple of years, sofa surfing for several more years. I was drinking, I was stealing, in trouble with the police. My boyfriend was a heroin addict. I was in a really, really dark place, and I absolutely hit rock bottom one day. And I thought, I remember where I was in London on Farringdon Road, and I thought, before I do this stupid thing, checking out of life, I must do that thing I wanted to do when I was a kid. I've got to get myself in a rally car and just see what it feels like. So I lied to my bank manager. In those days, they sat opposite a desk. And I told him I desperately needed some money for a car. And he gave it to me. And I had massive debt as well. But I took myself off to a rally school. And it's probably the best thing I ever did, because if I hadn't gone to the rally school that day, I don't think I'd be here to tell you my story or how I developed my mental toughness. So definitely getting in that car that day totally changed the course of my life. So in all my years to this point, I'd learned without realizing that I'd been building confidence, I've been building resilience, building commitment, building focus, determination. But I just didn't know I'd been doing it. I've also spent a lot of years doing extreme activities and adventures to push myself to see what I'm capable of. So I thought I'd just challenge you all to see what you thought about this. If I asked you what capability you had and how much you're using right now, I wondered what you would say. My own first-hand experience would suggest that we use only about 30% of our capability. Some say 1%, but let's go with 30 for now. What could possibly be missing? A lot of people I come across seek a very safe and comfortable life. And I think by doing that, you run the risk of never finding out what's missing, what you're actually capable of. So I wonder, what is it that makes the difference between winners and losers? I believe that for every achievement that you accomplish, some of it is down to skill and intelligence and talent, but only perhaps this much. What else could be making up the important bit of every achievement? Well, for me, without a shadow of a doubt, it's mental toughness. That's grit, it's perseverance, it's passion, it's control, it's courage, it's hardiness, it's stickability, or bounce back ability. So anybody that's able to handle the stress and pressure of what's going on is more likely to thrive. Of course, you can't do anything with the genes that you're born with, but you can do an awful lot to develop your mental toughness. I believe that one of the only reasons I ever achieved what I did was because I was driven by such a clear reason. I had, I mean, you can call it what you like, a purpose, a why, a goal, a mission. My reason was, in fact, that I'd lost touch with my dad and I desperately wanted to impress him. And when I did actually realise, when the penny dropped, that the reason I was working so hard to be a rally driver and to be a champion, when I became aware of my reason, my driving changed. I was so driven to succeed, and I was just not going to give up until I got where I wanted to get. So I do believe that the clarity of understanding your reason, your why, your mission, your goal, that is the real start, the absolute source of you achieving what you want to achieve. When that reason is crystal clear, nothing's going to stand in your way. And that's mental toughness. And I think you can find the courage, the strength to keep going and achieve extraordinary things when you know why you're doing them. Mental toughness is not macho, it's not aggressive. And I think it doesn't help. I mean, I love the term mental toughness, it's very me, but a lot of people think, oh, that doesn't sound like me. I'm not aggressive or macho. Well, it's not that at all. It's the ability to handle the pressure and the stress and the challenges of life. It's a personality trait. Why we think the way we do and why we respond the way we do. If we understand what we're thinking and why we're behaving that way, we're in a position to actually start changing our behavior and changing outcomes. So there are 4 key areas of mental toughness. So the first area is control, and that's the extent to which you feel in control of your life. So if you're mentally tough, you'll have a very can-do attitude. You really believe you can get stuff done. You're probably a good planner, good organizer. You have a great work ethic. You definitely think anything is possible. The second aspect of mental toughness is challenge, and that's because mentally tough people see every challenge as an opportunity, not a threat. And again, super relevant right now. All sorts of challenges going on, but the mentally tough will see, aha, this is an opportunity. So with challenge, you have a sense of stretching yourself. You like taking risks. You maybe try new things. And lots of people love change. I love change personally. I love discovering what I don't know, the unknown. And some people will resist change at all costs. And you probably know some people like that. And there's another aspect to this, which is learning from things that you try. If something doesn't quite go your way, rather than saying, I'm never doing that again, that's saying, what can I learn from what just happened? You know, this is an another opportunity for me to learn something because I'm curious and I'm interested and I want to take something from this. So the third aspect of mental toughness is commitment. And of course, if you think about it, committed, conscientious people achieve more. And there's 2 aspects to this. So there's the bit where you love setting goals. I'm a massive goal setter. I find it really, really appealing and satisfying to set a goal and reach it. That's what I like. So people that like setting goals, they feel determined, they can visualize success, visualize outcomes, and they like being tested. They get some thrill in that. And the mentally sensitive, which is the other end of the spectrum to mentally tough, they're less likely to set goals. They probably don't enjoy goals so much, feel the pressure, they feel the stress of it. The last aspect of mental toughness is confidence. And this has got 2 parts to it. This is the confidence you might have in your ability. I know I can do it, but also your confidence in dealing with other people, your interpersonal confidence. So those are the 4 elements of mental toughness. And of course, they'll work independently. So you could have somebody with really high confidence with a very low level of commitment. They really know that they can do it, but they just don't go through with it. So I did mention very briefly there that the other end of the spectrum to mentally tough is mentally sensitive. It's not mentally weak, and this is 16% of the population will fall into this category, and these people cope less well with change and chaos and stress. And so an organization can really do with both of these, mentally tough and mentally sensitive, because like in any organization, you need a diversity of everyone and everything to make it work. I was so committed to proving that I could be a rally champion and get to that place. And nothing was going to stand in my way. I had to be tough. I had to build my mental toughness. Mental toughness, by the way, isn't about working harder and longer. It's not about great work ethic necessarily. It's about loving what you do and really enjoying giving it everything you've got. But I do believe, and I take this from my own experience, that when you recognize why you're doing stuff, I knew my reason, and when the penny dropped and I realized it was about my dad, that was the petrol in my tank. It's what kept me going. It kept pushing me through. And I think you will be able to achieve extraordinary things when you are fueled by that reason, that why, that underlying belief or cause that you have. So what can you do to develop your mental toughness? Well, there's all sorts of interventions and strategies. They're mostly experiential. Certainly, if you worked with me, I would be asking you to do different tasks. We talk about your areas for development, and then we would create an experience for you. And then you would have some learning from that, and over time, your mental toughness will grow. And of course, everyone can reduce anxiety by sleeping more, talking more, laughing more. Acts of kindness are completely underrated. You get a massive dopamine hit from doing something kind, and I recommend that all the time. So what would happen if you were more mentally tough? What would happen to your business if you felt more confident? What would happen to your general well-being if you felt more emotionally in control? If you saw every challenge as an opportunity, what would change? What would happen to your life? I think it's so exciting. If you can just reframe, change your perspective, I think things start to get seriously exciting. But I do honestly think that understanding your reason behind everything you do will be the source of building your mental toughness. So that's it. That's my overview, my deep dive into mental toughness. It's very, very quick. I could talk about it for absolutely hours.
So thank you again, Penny.
Pleasure.
Everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you all very soon.
Thanks, Paul. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.